Well, thank you, Dr. Schwanstrom, and thank you to the handful of people that I didn't bring with me. So I'm Poppy Addison. I'm a general surgery resident at Lenox Hill. Let's see here. One of these isn't clicking. Got it, perfect. Okay, so I have nothing to disclose, and this work was supported by a 2020 SAGES robotic surgery grant, so thank you for funding this. As a background for gender-based bias in surgical education, women are only 22% of active general surgeons in 2020. Gender role expectations may burden the advancement of women surgeons. Obviously, there's a lot of really entrenched societal explanations for why this gender disparity exists. But as far as skill evaluations, men are more likely to receive positive feedback than women, and women tend to underrate their technical skills despite there being no difference. And given that direct assessment and feedback provides really critical guidance, we hypothesized that blinded assessments could minimize gender bias to allow these feedback tools to be the most accurate and the most useful for young surgeons. So to address this hypothesis, we performed a retrospective review of prospectively gathered data. We enrolled patients undergoing robotic hysterectomies between June 2019 and March 2020 at 8 hospitals in a large healthcare system in New York. The skill assessment was provided by the CSATS group, so this is crowdsourced evaluation with the GEARS score. And if you're unfamiliar with the GEARS score, I'll address that in the next slide. So to adjust for confounding variables, we included significant variables from the univariate screen in an ANCOVA, which is a linear regression model. And we performed a post-hoc power analysis. So for 80% power and an alpha of 0.05, 4 women and 4 men were required to detect a 10% difference in GEARS score, assuming a mean score of 20 plus or minus 1. So if you're unfamiliar with the GEARS score, it's the Global Evaluative Assessment of Robotic Skills. It's a derivation of the OSAT score that was previously discussed. It grades robotic surgical skill in 5 domains: depth perception, bimanual dexterity, efficiency, force sensitivity, and robotic control. And it's been validated to stratify experienced versus inexperienced surgeons, and crowdsourced review has been validated against expert review. So we enrolled 17 women surgeons, 13 men. We found that there was a significant difference in the years of experience between men and women, with men tending to be more experienced. And with the number of cases submitted for scoring, men tended to submit 11 cases versus a mean of 20 for women. But there was no significant difference in the fellowship training for men versus women. On our unadjusted analysis, there was no significant difference between the two groups in total GEARS score. Women tended to be scored 20 plus or minus 0.8, and men 20 plus or minus 0.7. There was no difference between any of the GEARS subcomponent scores. In our unadjusted analysis, there was a significant difference in operative time for women versus men surgeons. Women tended to have a mean operative time of 130 minutes and men about 90 minutes. But when we adjusted for years of experience and number of cases, there was no significant difference. And similarly, when we adjusted for the years of experience or number of cases, total GEARS score remained not significant. There was also no significant correlation between years of experience and GEARS score for men or women surgeons. And there was no significant correlation between operative volume and GEARS score for men or women. So in conclusion, there were no significant differences between men and women in operative time or GEARS score. So incorporating blinded video-based assessments into holistic review may minimize the impact of gender bias in surgical skill evaluation. So thank you for listening, and thank you for sticking around. And if you have any questions, I'll take them now. Thank you.